In my previous video analyzing, it's a very interesting figure in that Maresca will face two types of opponents, the passive ones and the ultra aggressive ones. The ultra aggressive ones are also known as the high block teams. These are teams that are super aggressive, super pressing, and highly offensive. And so far, Maresca has fared quite well with such teams. We saw it with Tottenham, we saw it with Liverpool, but earlier on in the season, Chelsea struggled. So how did this struggle come? Look at this Tottenham game. Look at Tottenham. They have committed as many as 5 players to press Chelsea's 5 players who are building from the back. You can see that their striker is showing Chelsea to play the ball towards the left. Benoit plays the ball to Chalobah plays the ball to Cucurella. Cucurella is immediately pressed. What does Cucurella do here? Because all the central passing options have been closed, and now Cucurella is facing the press. So Cucurella decides to play the ball to Garnacho. Garnacho receives the ball. He's drawing a fullback out of position, and now Garnacho is the one who has actually found himself in a difficult situation. And this is what happens when you're facing a high block. So in our video today, before we even start, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Now, Maresca's strategy to deal with a high block has been somewhat successful. However, we saw against Bayern Munich, Chelsea crumbled. Even Manchester United in the first half, Chelsea crumbled. So what is the higher block and how can the use of the forward lines actually help Chelsea bypass this? Now, Maresca has been quite innovative with the high block recently. He has even preferred facing the high block because Maresca understands one thing. Space is generally generated with the high block. The high block will commit as many as 6 players to go man-to-man with the midfielders, the fullbacks, and the centre-backs in the initial phases of build-up. And Maresca has opted sometimes to use the fullbacks as outlets. While the high block might be super aggressive, this might not be the most suitable thing because the fullback is always receiving with him being close to the touchline. So one way Maresca can look to exploit the high block is by having pacey forwards and looking to use Sanchez's kicking ability to play balls over the top. And Sanchez has been doing this. Look at here, Spurs are looking to press Chelsea, and Spurs have actually committed as many as 6 players. 6 players are going after Chelsea. Now, Sanchez has the ball, and the easy pass is to play the ball to Benoit. But no, Sanchez decides to launch this ball forward. So why is Sanchez doing this? He understands that Chelsea have 5 players ahead of the ball. That is what Sanchez understands. And you can see it here. Look at this scenario. João Pedro, Garnacho, Neto, Enzo Fernandez are all making runs forward. So it means that they have that space. So the 2 wingers who might be super crucial when facing a high aggressive block is Pedro Neto and Garnacho. And why is this so? When you look at the second goal that Chelsea scored against Wolves is when you understand that Garnacho and Neto are Chelsea's most deadliest weapons when it comes to the high block. These 2 players are so fast and they stay so wide and they always offer that threat in behind. And because Garnacho and Neto are lightning quick, Sanchez is always ready to launch that ball forward. And you have seen Chelsea, and even when you look at the stats, you have realized that Sanchez has started to go direct more and more. And what happens is that because of this threat, the opposition team will now start to have their entire backline dropping deeper. And this will create space between the midfield and the attacking lines. And because of this, what now you expect is Maresca's team looking to find players in between the lines. And that is what Chelsea have been doing. If you play with the high line, they play over the top. If you play with the line dropping deeper, you create spaces in midfield. Look here, Chelsea are being pressed. Look at where Colwill is. The entire midfield has pushed up to stop Cucurella and Caicedo from receiving the ball. And Colwill under pressure is able to play a splitting line breaking pass. Now this line breaking pass ends up with Enzo Fernandez picking the ball in between the lines with no pressure. Enzo Fernandez is picking this ball with the ability to turn, with the ability to move backwards and actually look to create problems for the opposition. Enzo Fernandez receives this ball, he can spot Palmer looking to make that run and automatically plays that ball towards the path of Cole Palmer. Now, this is something that Maresca has really looked to try and exploit with the high block. The high block is also quite interesting when they have possession because they commit so many players forward, and most in particular is the fullbacks who look to join the attack in applying maximum pressure. Now here is where Caicedo comes in. Caicedo, once he wins this ball, what he automatically looks to do is to play balls in the channels. And remember, the goal that Chelsea scored against Wolves. This is an example of a defensive low block. And in this structure here, Chelsea cannot play through it because there are no spaces in between the lines. However, this is a high aggressive block. The centre-backs are patient with the ball to draw West Ham to press them, knowing very well that Fernandes and Estevao are the two free men in between the lines who can easily receive the ball with little to no pressure. This here again is an offensive high block. The problem here is Maresca chose wingers who are staying deeper. If he plays Pedro Neto and Garnacho looking to make runs in behind, then this block will be easily exploited. So what am I concluding with this fact? The high block is suited to lightning, quick, pacey wingers like Garnacho and Neto. And in that situation, whenever Chelsea are playing an aggressive high block team, Arsenal, Manchester City, FC Bournemouth, Liverpool, the best pair to pick against those teams is Pedro Neto and Garnacho. Why is that the case? These are two players who will constantly make those runs, who will constantly look to tear down and cause all manner of chaos to that defense. They are players who know how to time their runs, and they are players who know to beat the offside trap. And that is the final episode on analyzing Chelsea's on the ball strengths and weaknesses. Thank you. See you in the next video.